Alright folks, create a new folder called lists inside module 0 and then create a new file called summation.py and open it in Vim. This problem is going to be relatively simple. Given a list, we're going to write a function that finds the sum of all of the elements in the list. Now let me teach you another fundamental thing. Go ahead and type import random. Random is a Python module that generates random values for us, and a Python module is basically a Python file with defined code in it like functions and other stuff which we'll learn later. Someone else already did the hard work of writing it for you, and now you can use it freely because the code is shareable and usable in snippets, and that's another reason why functions are so important, as well as other concepts we will be learning in the future. Alright, let's go ahead and declare our function here. Remember, if you're defining a function, it's the def keyword. So I'm going to say def summation, and inside parentheses, I'm going to just say nums. That's going to be the input list that we expect someone to give us whenever they call this function. And then in the code below, well, our goal is just to sum up all of the elements in the list, right? And so that naturally means we need to iterate through all of the elements. I'm going to say for num in nums, and now we encounter our problem. How do we keep a running total of all of the elements? Well, you can use a variable for that, right? Basically, I'm going to go above the for loop here. I'm going to define a total, set it equal to 0, and then I'm going to, for every single element that I come across in the list, I'm just going to add it to the total. And I believe that mostly wraps up what we need to do in the function here. So let's move down below and go outside of the function and then implement the rest of our logic, right? I'm going to say we're going to create an empty list called nums. And then what we want to do is we want to generate 5 random numbers and then put them inside that list. Now, I could technically do the same statement 5 times, but there's no need for that when we have loops, right? So if I want something to run 5 times, I can just do for x in range 5. That's going to run this thing 5 times. And then inside that for loop, I am going to do nums.append. Remember, append to add stuff to the end of the list. And now here's how you use the random module. The random module has several different methods that you can use in it. We're going to use the randint method. Randint is a method for generating a random integer, and it takes a couple different arguments. I'm going to specify 1, 11. In other words, hey random, I want you to generate a random number from 1 to 11, and then we're going to add it to this list. After this loop runs 5 times, we will have a list of 5 random numbers, and then we are going to feed it to our function. Alright, and now just to make the output clear, I'm going to go ahead and print nums, so that'll print out our list of random numbers so that we know what they are, and then after that I'm going to print summation of nums, which is going to print out the sum or the total that we calculate from those random numbers. Okay, fantastic. And so I'm going to write my changes and open up a new terminal, then execute my code, and I see the random array of numbers that we generated here, but then I see none. That's because I'm a dork and I did not return the sum. So now we need to go back to this function here and we need to actually return the total. Remember, functions need to output something if that's what you expect. And now if we rewrite the changes and then re-execute the code, it functions as expected. Woohoo. Alright, let's go ahead and run this a couple more times just to verify, and then in each case, if you go ahead and do the math manually, you will see that our function behaves as expected. Awesome. This was a really basic example. Let's do something a little trickier in the next one. Now, really quickly, before we move on, I do want to emphasize that I know some of you are really smart, very intelligent. You pick up on this kind of stuff very quickly, and so maybe some of these videos and examples so far have seemed like busy work to you. My point in going through all of this with you is repetitions, right? Coding is just like anything else. You get better at it and more comfortable with it the more you do it. I know for loops are really basic. I know some of the stuff is really easy for some of you, but I want you to get the repetitions in. At some point, you'll become so comfortable with all of this basic stuff that it'll just be like breathing to you. And trust me, that's where we want to be, because some of the problems that you're going to be solving and working on are going to be way, way harder than this. You need all the brain power you can get to focus on those parts. So please do the repetitions, get really comfortable, get good. Eventually, this will be like second nature to you. That'll help you moving forward.